All right, I would like to do a couple of your homework problems that I thought might need some clarification. So let me share my screen and we'll take a look at those. So I want to look at question 15 on homework 4.1, and we have points. We are told that the points 1, 6 and 2, -5 lie on the graph of an odd function f. So what that means is that since the function is odd, if you put in the opposite sign for your input, then you're going to get the opposite sign for your output. And so, in other words, the opposite sign of 1, which is our input, is -1. So I'm going to get the opposite sign for my output, which is 6. So that would be -6. So that's what it means to be an odd function. And then similarly, we're putting in 2, but if I put in the opposite sign as my input, an odd function will give me the opposite sign for the output. So I'm putting in -2, and I'm going to get the opposite of -5, which is 5. So that's how you do that problem. I thought that might be confusing since we were looking at graphs and they were just picking out a single point or a couple points. Okay, in this graph, I just want to go through this to kind of help you understand the difference between absolute and local extreme values. So we are given that the graph below shows the temperature readings in the sun, X hours past noon. So it's just keeping track of the temperature, nothing too complicated. We're supposed to identify the absolute maximum and minimum, and then we're going to round our answer to whole numbers. That's what it says, round to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So the absolute means the very highest and lowest point on the graph. So the very lowest is down here at 80, and it looks to me like it's closer to 81. So I'm going to say 81. And notice I'm giving a y value. For when we're talking about extreme values, we're always going to give y values as our answer. So the minimum value is 81, I'm going to say, because it says to round. And here is the maximum value, and that is at 87. Okay. So 81 or 87 is the maximum, and 81 is the minimum. Okay. The next thing says, which of the following is the correct interpretation? The absolute maximum indicates the average of all local. We're not talking about averages. Remember, we're just talking about temperatures. So the absolute maximum indicates the highest temperature and the absolute minimum indicates the lowest temperature. Yeah, I think that's right. Here it says the absolute maximum indicates the lowest. That's obviously wrong. So B is the correct choice. All right, and then it says to identify the local maximum and local minimum. Now notice it's saying maxima, that's the plural, and minima, where we actually have, if you look at our graph, more than one local maximum or minimum, and that's because the absolute maximum and minimum are also local maximum or minimum. So we're going to include those in our answer. So here we already determined that was 81 and that this was 87 for min, absolute min and max, but those are also local. And then here we have a maximum of, it looks like 85 and a minimum of 84, let's say. So 87 and 85 are the local maximums, and 81 and 84. Okay, so the local maxima are 85, 87, and the local minimum are 81 and 84. And then finally, we are asked which of the following gives the intervals for which the temperature was increasing. So if you look at our graph, it's increasing, here it's decreasing. We go from left to right, right? So it's increasing from this point up to this point, and then from here to here. Now, when we're looking at intervals, where the function is increasing or decreasing, that keyword where tells us we're going to give X values. So we're looking from about 1.5 up to about 2.8, and then from looks like 3.8 to about 5. So let's see where we can see that 1.5 to 2.8 and then 3.8 to 5. Isn't that what I said? I hope so. Let me check it. It's wrong. Okay. So there's some help with the homework. If you need any extra help, reach out to me and just email me and I'll try to work out a time where we can either meet via Zoom or in person during my office hours, or in my office, I should say. And anyway, I hope that helped.